Well, in our student ministry, one of the things that we really want to be about is partnering with parents to help students to make their faith their own and to learn not just to make it their own, but to let it affect every aspect of their life so that they can live with Christ at the center of their lives and learn to live that out in every aspect. And one of the culminating pieces of what we do in C3, which is our high school group, is an out-of-the-country missions experience. And so this summer, as I said, we got the opportunity to take 14 students and 4 adults to the country of Haiti and to serve God there. This is part of our group here. We couldn't get them all up. A lot of them wanted to share. And so we asked them, is there anybody else that's here that was on the trip? If you just stand up just so they can see you as well. I think we got almost everybody here this morning. So that's the rest of our team there. Thanks, guys. So I want to just share a little bit about what we saw and experienced, and especially about what we saw God do there, and be a part. Well, we got to be a part of what He's doing there, and what He did in the lives of some of us. And so first, I want to just to explain, because one of the things when you come back from a trip like this is it's super hard to bring the experience back in a way that helps others who didn't get to experience it to understand it and to fully appreciate it. And thankfully, my wife went with me this time for the first time, so I didn't have to do that myself. But I know for some of them, it's hard to express that. So I wanted just to start with, let's talk about a little bit just about what Haiti was like. And first of all, I'm going to ask Ashley to start. Just kind of describe what Haiti, the place, is like.
Well, to a lot of other people, like Americans, Haiti is a very poor, dirty, trashed country, like very poverty-stricken, like no happiness. It's just, but like in reality, it really is a beautiful country. If you look past all of that, there's beautiful beaches, beautiful landscape, and the flowers are so pretty, and it really is a beautiful country if you look past everything that makes it negative.
Yeah, one of the things that we notice is, one of the things when we watch the news and we see things about the earthquake and we see all the negative sides sometimes, and what we got to appreciate was that there's a lot of beauty there, and not just in the place itself, which is very beautiful, but also in the people. And Arlene, just share with us a little bit, what was your impression of the people there as we got to interact with them?
The people, love, patience, hospitality, connection, and acceptance that we felt from them, even with our language barrier. As a mother, we teach our children not to run up and just talk to strangers. That wasn't there, and that was really neat. They just came up to us and trusted us. Holly, Emily, Sonia, myself, and the translator went out on a prayer walk right through the streets, and it felt safe. Now, for us to go out and do that by ourselves without a translator would have not been safe, because they told us when they see white women, they think of pretty and rich. But we felt safe out there. I got to hold a newborn infant, and the mother, she said to me, "You take." And I said, "No." She goes, "You feed." I said, "No." And then she took the baby back. But she would have gave me that baby to walk away with and not think twice, because of a better life for that child. Learning that they have so little and we have so much. On the prayer walk, we went into a home and he felt really bad that he couldn't even offer us a drink or something to eat because they didn't have it. Learning also that the differences with us, the black skin, the white skin, and yet working together, we got the job done. They made us feel so welcome in their homes, in their church service. And they are a people who serve God, who serve an awesome God. And the best story I can show you of the people was the last day. We were ready to leave. We packed the bus. We had a Haitian driver driving the bus. We had a Haitian in the back of the bus with our luggage. And we said goodbye to our translators, and we were on the way to the airport, going through Port-au-Prince. And one of our translators called up to us and he goes, "Turn the bus around, turn the bus around." We turned the bus around. That's busy street, 3-lane street. We just blocked the street. We turned that bus around and went another way to the airport. And we got to the airport and But no. Crystal says to me, she goes, "Do you know why we turned around?" I said, "To save time?" She said, "No, this never happened before, but the area that we were heading right into, riots happened, an American was killed, and he wanted us to turn that bus around because he loved us that much. He did not want to put us into any possible danger."
Yeah, they're very joyful and generous. It's amazing how much they tried to give to us while we were there. And the people, we just love the people who got to interact with them. One of the big adjustments for us as a team, you can pass that down to Jesse. One of the big adjustments for us as a team was living in a new culture, in a new environment that was much different than ours. And so, Jesse, share just a little bit about, and you probably came the most prepared of anybody on the trip, but what was it like to adjust and to live in Haiti?
Yeah, off the most prepared. I just brought everything I thought I might need.
He had a drugstore in his bag, so he was
I
set.
had 4 toothbrushes because it's like when the dentist gives you the free ones, I just put them all in his bag. So gave one to Dylan and different other things. At first it was rough. It was hard to adjust to, but towards the end of the week we felt blessed because compared to other people, we had it really nice there. Basically, there's no running water, no air conditioning or anything, so that's kind of hard to adjust to. So sleeping was really hot and rough for me personally. But the food was great. We had Madame Jose. She made delicious food, so that was good. We had 3 meals a day. Every lunch was peanut butter and jelly. So, and the shower, that was a little hard. It was like a basin full of water, and you just kind of dump it on yourself. And, I don't know, in the dark too. So it's a lot of energy. But we all. Towards the end of the week, we were all fine and we adjusted pretty well.
Yeah, it's a little different. You can send that down to Jen here. It's a little different with, you never knew when you'd have water and you never knew when you'd have electricity, and you had to have electricity to pump the water up to the tank on the roof, and if we went through it and they didn't have both of those, the water doesn't run all the time and the electricity doesn't run all the time, and so we never knew what we'd have. And I asked Jen to share a little bit about that, because let's get a girl's perspective on this, because it's a little different. And so what's your thoughts on just how we live there in Haiti?
Well, one of the coolest things about where we stayed is we actually stayed in a Haitian neighborhood. We weren't, didn't work with the people during the day and then at night went somewhere else. We stayed right in the neighborhood with everybody, and that was pretty cool because there was neighbors. We were kind of like in the middle of this building, so down below, before we walked up the steps, there was neighbors down there. We'd go halfway up the steps was where we stayed, and then on the roof there was another set of neighbors, which we kind of got to know because we shared a roof with them. But it was just neat because wherever we were at in the building, we can see Haitians, and we would look outside. We would see the women carrying things on their head, walking down the street. When it rained, the whole entire street got flooded, and we could see the rainwater go by. But it was neat to kind of be in that environment and live with the people in Haiti right there, and just be able to be involved with them. Like Jessica said, we slept on the roof. The first couple nights we put some tents up, slept in those. On the second night it was just too hot, so I slept just outside of the tent, and then it rained and we put the tents down, and then after that it was like, we're not messing with the tents anymore, it's cooler just to sleep on the roof. Not the most comfortable experience, but hey, we slept out on the roof and it was a lot cooler. Funny thing was, all the girls, I think, slept out on the roof, but the boys, most of them wanted to sleep inside. So, but that was a great experience, just being able to be out and do that. The house itself was perfect for the 18 of us. We actually lived, I guess, more in an upscale neighborhood than some of the other Haitians did, so we had just a few bedrooms, guys and girls bathrooms and stuff like that, so we had a little bit more room for the 18 of us in there. like I said about living with the Haitians, we had to take our trash out every day. We had to do chores, do the dishes and things like that. And I can remember, I think it was Sunday, the trash truck comes through, and there is the loudest horn I have ever heard. And we were all looked at each other like, what in the world is that? And Chris was like, oh, it's the trash truck. Go grab the trash and run downstairs. And I think it was Mitch that grabbed the trash, and he's carrying this big thing, run down the steps, and just all the Haitians come out of their out of their houses and throw the trash in the trash truck. And so we were a part of that as well. But it was just beautiful, the house that we stayed in, just to be on the roof and you could see the mountains and see the houses just stacked on top of each other. And like I said earlier, just watching all of the neighbors and stuff that walked by. But we were just fully engaged with the Haitian people, and I think that's what the biggest part of our experience was, that we were living with them, and that was pretty cool.
Dylan, why don't you explain to us, we did a lot of things while we were there, and they saw some of the pictures of that in the video, but just explain, we kind of had two different halves of our week. What did we do in the first half of the week?
All right, well, Saturday we got there, we set up the base, kind of unpacked, got the rundown and everything, like showed us around, and then up on the roof kind of had like a debriefing, just kind of getting our plans ready for the week, what we were going to do, what we plan to do, and everything like that. And then Sunday we got up pretty early, had to dress, and it's really hot. So Saturday we were all like getting used to it, sweating, and then Sunday we had to get up and wear dress shirts and long pants and everything to go to church. And the church service was really cool. We even knew some of the songs that they were singing in Creole, so we kind of sang along in English. They had a spot ready for us, waiting for us. Like, they kind of showed us right to our seats, and that some of the kids were coming up and talking to us and playing with us during the church service. So that was pretty cool. And then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we went to an orphanage up in, Port-au-Prince? In Port-au-Prince, it was kind of like drive up this crazy mountain trail with a bumper. It kind of fell off of our bus, almost. And then we got there, and at first it was all girls in the orphanage, and at first they were kind of shy, like not really, like new people come in, and like they didn't really warm up to us yet, but by the end of the first day and going into Monday, they had really opened up to us, and we got to do crafts with them, taught them some lessons, played activities, sports with them. They taught us their whole bunch of hand games and all the different games that we learned through them. And then on Monday, we actually got to go play soccer with the Haitians, so that was pretty. They have a big soccer field there, and they were pretty good. Jesse and Matt were our stars. And then, like, while we weren't playing, we got to also talk to them and just kind of connect with them, get to know them a little better. And then Tuesday, we got to prep. The Thursday was the church service, the international church service. So Tuesday, we took time to prep for that, like work on the drama thing and get our worship songs. So we kind of split into different groups to plan that all out and everything. And then the Tuesday, we also did some street evangelism where we had planned out the drive, and we're like, well, let's just go try it on the street and see how it works. So we got our stuff together and walked down the street to kind of like a little corner area, and we Crick shared her Evangel Cube, Clarissa sang some songs, we did the drama, and so that was really cool. We just got to it was just kind of like, well, let's go try this and see how it works, and it worked out really well. So that was great.
Yeah, it was cool. We actually had 5 people that made a profession of faith in that. Just something that happened off the cuff. We just said, hey, let's go give it a try, so that was pretty cool. Crick, can you explain to us a little bit, what was the second half was a lot different. What did we do the second half of the week?
Well, like he said, we went to an orphanage the first half of the week, and we did a VBS. And we took the same VBS to the kids in the countryside. And the countryside community is, 2 hours away? About 2? Yeah, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was a very different ride from going to Port-au-Prince. We thought all the time driving in Haiti was crazy, but then it wasn't quite as crazy as going to the countryside. Once you turn off the main road, and by main road, it's not like our main roads. There's no road markings. There's actually no road rules. You generally stay to the right side of the road, but if you need to go to the left side to pass somebody who's going way too slow for you, feel free at any time. And so we turned off this main road onto a dirt road, and that was the bumpiest ride I've ever had in my life. And we actually had wooden benches between the bus seats to squeeze more people in. And you did not want to be riding on that bench seat if you were going to the countryside, because it's not bolted to the floor or anything. It just goes back and forth and up and down and all over the place. So that was an experience in and of itself. And then we finally got to the countryside, and I thought the kids were very different from the kids in the orphanage. Crystal, who led our group, told us that some of these kids may not have ever seen a white person before, whereas the kids in the orphanage are visited regularly by groups coming in. So that was different, and I know some of the kids were touching our skin, trying to rub the white off of us. They were, what's wrong with them? Why are they that color? They were a little rougher than the kids in the orphanage, but still, they wanted the same thing that the kids in the orphanage wanted. A lot of the Haitian adults there are so busy just trying to scrape together a living to barely put one meal a day on their kids' tables, so they don't have much time for their kids. So even the parents were really excited that we were willing to just take 3-4 hours out of our day just to spend with the kids. So even though they were rougher, they just wanted our love, and they didn't care that we didn't speak their language. Some of them didn't even really want a translator there to translate, to talk to us. They just wanted to be with us. So, and I love kids, so that was great for me. I just got to sit with them and play with them, and they would play with my hair, so that was good for me too. And then Thursday night, the church we had gone to on Sunday invited us back for an international night of praise and worship, and they prepared worship songs and a praise time for us, and they asked us if we would prepare a service for them as well. And then we had Gospel Vision, which is a Haitian choir. They came in and they sang, and they were awesome. So we prepared our drama, and I shared the gospel through the use of a tool. It's an evangel cube. It's just this big cube that presents the gospel story, and so I used that to help me. And I thought that the service on Sunday, I was okay, we'll be ready for it on Thursday, because it's a little crazy. I thought it was strange when a cow walked through the middle of our service, and I thought it was strange enough that in the middle of the service, someone would just walk over from one side of the church, go over and talk to his friend while the pastor's talking, and they thought it was normal, and and it's just very free and open, and there's no walls on the church, and there's goats tethered outside, and so I thought that was crazy enough. And then Thursday night, it was even crazier. They're a very charismatic church, very charismatic. But it was just cool to see, no matter how different we worship the same God, no matter what language we speak, no matter how we worship Him. They were worshiping our God, and we were worshiping theirs, and we were able to do that together. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a pretty powerful night that I think we'll remember for a long time. It was cool to partner with them. And at one point, our girls were leading some worship, and part of their band came up and played together, and it was just a really neat experience. So one of the things that, as you can kind of tell from what they've shared about living in Haiti, that this does is it forces us out of our comfort zones. And sometimes when we get forced out of our comfort zones, that's where God really can do a lot of work. And Craig, I'm gonna start with you again. What was a way that you were forced out of your comfort zone, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I'm not very easily pushed outside of my comfort zone. I'm pretty comfortable in most situations, but and even if I am uncomfortable, I won't tell you because, I couldn't tell you that. But Tim asked me, and I thought, it's for a church service. I can't lie about this. I have to tell the truth. So when I was most pushed out of my comfort zone, we went out. Dylan mentioned how we prepared a service for the Thursday night service, and then Crystal out of nowhere was like, well, we have extra time on our hands, let's go out to the streets and share it with them. So that's what we did, and I shared the Evangel Cube. And it started out, I was standing across the street from them, and I've never had a problem with talking loud enough. Nobody's asked me to ever speak up in my life. I talk very loud all the time. But I was standing across the street, and I started talking, and they were like, speak up, and I was like, really? Okay. And so I started talking louder, and then they're like, go closer. So I walked closer to them, and I'm getting kind of uncomfortable because, I started out, I was ready to go, and I've lost my train of thought now because they've asked me to start over 2 times, and then this car out of nowhere comes and honks his horn at me, waits for me to move, and I didn't know what to do because in Haiti, they just always go around you. They don't, doesn't matter if you're standing in their way, they'll just go around you. So I just stood there and looked at the car, and Billy was like, "Move, Kristen, move." I was like, "Oh, okay, this is different for Haiti." And then, so now I'm standing a foot and a half away from this guy that I'm talking to, and so I'm right up in their face. And so that just kind of, I was like, okay. And then I finally finished. I was like, okay, it's over, it's done with. And Clarissa walks up and she's like, "Oh, these 2 little girls came up halfway through and they didn't hear it. Can we start over?" It's like, okay. And so I started over. And so after I finished, though, it was really cool. Even though I was pushed out of my comfort zone, I was asked to start over 10 times. And I was told to speak louder. And this car came out of nowhere. All these dogs were barking. All this stuff was going on. It was classic Haiti. But these 2 little girls who had heard it they came up, they heard it, and then these 2 little boys and this man, they all wanted to pray to ask Jesus Christ to come as into their hearts as their Savior. And I thought, it was worth it. It doesn't matter if I was outside my comfort zone. It doesn't matter that it was a bit strange, not usually the way you do things. That's what matters, that they accepted Christ as their Savior, and that there's 5 new people going to heaven. So it's so cool.
Yeah, last week, if you were here, Don McCall talked about the armor of God and the spiritual warfare that we face, and we saw it in that morning. We picked a quiet corner where nothing happens, and as soon as we started to share the gospel, these dogs came out of nowhere barking, these cars came out of nowhere honking, the street got real busy, like with traffic, and there was none the whole time we were there before, and it was interesting just to see some of that spiritual battle that was going on, and yet God was still able to work through the students and see a great result. So, Jen, how about you? How did you get kind of forced out of your comfort zone? What God teach you through that?
The whole Haiti experience was well out of my comfort zone. I am not a outside, sleep on the ground, camping kind of girl, and so this whole thing, you may laugh, but I don't usually go on a trip without my hair dryer and my straightener and all that kind of stuff. So the thought of we don't have much electricity, you have to leave that stuff at home. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because everyone's going to see me at what I think is my absolute worst. But that was, in doing all that and moving that kind of stuff home was cool for me because it took the focus off of myself and made me put it on other people. And I think that was one of the bigger takeaways that I took. Crystal, when she had come, I think one of our very first meetings, we were all asking questions like, can we do this? Can we bring this? Can we do this? And one of the things that she said was to we need to focus on being and not just doing. And I think just during that week, but throughout the whole summer, that had really stuck with me, is that I needed to focus on being, and being with the people, being with our group, and not just doing. So pulling those luxuries away from home and taking the air conditioning away and all that kind of stuff was a huge stretch, pulled me out of my comfort zone, but in the end was a good thing. And I was thrilled to be where I was, and I was just at peace to be in Haiti because it was a really neat experience. Another thing, some of them had touched on our Thursday night service that we did in the church, and I had taught a lesson on the paralyzed man a couple times in our VBS at both orphanages and stuff, or in the countryside in the orphanage. And as we were trying to prepare for our Thursday night service, they were like, "Jen, why don't you do your lesson?" And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, really, in front of how many people that will be there?
400.
So I ended up doing the lesson in front of everybody. Like he said, there's 400 plus people in the service. And it was hot, we were tired. When you get up front, the lights were just, made it 10 times hotter than it was. But I was able to pull through. It did help that we weren't talking directly to the people in a sense. It was being interpreted, so that kind of helped me out a little bit. But that was a big stretch for me too, to be up in front of that many people and to be able to share my lesson with them. But I just was amazed at just how well I did being pulled out of my comfort zone. And if there's anything that I can encourage you with, just to take, is just like what I said earlier, just about focusing on being. just even when I serve in our preschool class or serve in different places, that we focus on just being with the kids or being with those that we're serving, and not just being there because, oh, I have to, I'm scheduled to serve that day, so I'm just going to do it. But just to be with the kids. And we thank you for all your prayers and stuff while we were gone as well.
Dylan, how about you?
Alright, so Cricket doesn't have a comfort zone, and Jen's is in another country. Well, my comfort zone is like this big, so like even this is outside my comfort zone right now. So going to Haiti was way, way out of my comfort zone. And so like just everything that we did at the beginning was like, what am I doing? At first I didn't really want to go, but Tim was like the deadline's coming up, you gotta sign up, you're gonna go. And I was like, okay, I'll go, sure, stop asking me. So I deposited and I signed up, and then I was like, I don't want to go. And he's like, well, it's too late now. And so by the end of the trip, at the beginning I was like, I don't want to go. And I was like, I'm not gonna do anything. But by the end I was so glad that I went. It was a great experience. I wouldn't change it for anything. Like I'm so glad that I went. So thanks, Tim, for hounding me and making me go on the trip. But for my comfort zone, we were on the way to the countryside, and it was like an hour-and-a-half drive. And Tim was like, would someone want to share the Evangel Cube? And I was like, maybe I'll do it. No, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I had an hour and a half to prepare all these. They gave me a little paper that's like, say this. And I was like trying to memorize it and do it perfectly. And I ran it through my head. I was like, okay, I think I got it down. So I got there and I started sharing. The beginning's going all right, and then I didn't do it perfectly. I was like, oh, I messed that up. Wait, I gotta go back. And then I was like, I don't know where I am. So at the end, it was just ended. And they were all staring at me, is he gonna keep talking? And so I kind of messed that up a little bit. But everyone was like, you did so good, you did good. And I could tell that it really touched them. So it doesn't matter how big or how small. That's one thing I really learned. It doesn't matter how big or small or how good you do it, but anything God will use to connect to them and just touch their hearts. So that was, by getting out of my comfort zone, I really learned something. It was good.
We talked a lot since the trip and on the trip and since the trip about what were some of the things, the big takeaways, and you've heard a few of them shared. Arlene, what was something that was a big takeaway for you from the trip?
Well, as most of you know, I lean on my husband. I'm his shadow. And he didn't go along. So I wanted to go along, I felt called to go along, and I thought, I can do this. When we got there in the first 2 days, I wanted to go home. I was not very comfortable. So I had a choice to make. Either I slip into my shell and mope and just be in my own little world and not enjoy the trip and miss what God had for me, or I understand that I am me. God showed me that I need to try to fit in. I need to reach out. I need to listen to my team, and I need to talk to them instead of wanting to be alone. I needed to feel and make myself included. And yes, I had my cell phone along, and I had to call Randy. And he was praying for me. He knew exactly how I was feeling without me even telling him. And he encouraged me to talk to Tim. I also got to talk to Clarissa, and it was awesome. I was able to realize that as we all sat in a circle each night up on that roof, how it was dark, we had flashlights, and just to see and hear the conversation was so encouraging and amazing how God was working in each one of us as we allow ourselves to step out of our comfort zone. And I realized that as I was willing to work on it, I began to feel better, and I had a great week. God taught me a lot of things, and I went with an awesome team. So thank you for all your prayers. We definitely felt them.
Ashley, how about you? What did you take away from this trip?
Well, one of my things that I struggle with a lot in life is I worry a lot about what people think of me and maybe what I look like or something like that. So, Thursday night we did the International Day of Prayer thing, and Tim asked me to talk, and I had like a month ago, yeah, sure, I'll do it, no big deal. And then he talked to me like a week before, and I'm just like, no. And then we get there, and he's like, you should just do it. Something maybe they really need to hear what you have to say. So I was like, okay. So I did it, and we spent a couple hours figuring out what I was gonna say, and writing out everything word for word, and like a little space in between, so I knew when to stop, and I had everything set up. And then I'm like, get there, and I'm ready to go, and then the schedule went a little out of order, and so I start panicking. So I was going a lot sooner than I was actually going to go. So I walk up there, and I'm like, trust me, I'm ready to cry. I'm I have my eyes are watering, and then I got up to the podium, so we stand up on the podium, and I'm looking back, and there's people, I can't even see the rest of them, and but it was amazing. I had this immediate peace, I got this. So, and I was worrying, I was like, people are gonna think I can't talk right, I'm not. So I was and then I was like, God's with me, I can do this for him, and I don't need to be accepted by everybody, I can just be accepted by God. And I was accepted by God that night, I could feel it. So now I'm working on not worrying about everything that people think, and only what God thinks I should do. So.
Jesse, how about you?
My biggest takeaway was that God showed us that we can make an impact in people's lives. Around here, it seems a little hard for me to spiritually make an impact. So, but in Haiti, it's a lot different. One of the things was when we did the drama in front of the church. When I came up and when I was Jesus, I came up and pushed the demons. They started screaming and yelling and cheering. And then after it was done, I was walking away, and 10 little boys come up Jay-Z, Jay-Z, and jumping on me. I was I don't know. I mean, it was, I don't know. I was really surprised by that. So, but it was really cool. And Crystal said, the kids at the orphanage, they'll just never forget the games we played with them and how we just brightened their day. And before we went, she told us that we should say things just say bonjour and just say hi to people, and that just can really I don't know, they get really happy when you do it. And so we all tried to learn Creole, because she gave us a little booklet, and there was on one page there were words in Creole, and calling your Aunt Dylan, Dylan they would always try and talk to us in Creole. So one of the sayings was "Moi parle Creole," and I was I don't speak Creole. But Dylan would say, "Moi parle Creole," and that's I speak Creole. So we forgot the parle, and so the whole time they would just keep talking to him. And but yeah, I mean, it was my biggest takeaway in the end. It was just making an impact in people's lives, and that we can change people through God.
Well, I hope you got a glimpse of not just what we did, but what God let us be a part of and what he did in the hearts and the lives of these students. And you guys can go ahead and head down if you want. But, yep. We appreciate your support and your prayers as we went, and I hope you'll keep praying for them, because if you heard them say they've learned some pretty big things, and sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's a little easier, you feel a little freer when you're amongst strangers to step out of your comfort zone and do things. And my desire and vision for these students is that they'll do those things here, and that they'll continue to have an impact, like Jesse said, in the lives of the people around here. And so we appreciate as you keep praying for them as they try to take the things that they've learned and put them to work in their lives here.